All right, guys, welcome to a brand new episode of SideQuest Podcast. Listen in and level up. I have a great episode for you today, but first, as always, let's get through the show notes. If you're not following the Facebook page, head over to Facebook, type SideQuest Fitness into the search bar, and like the page. There, you're going to get updates on podcast episodes, articles when they get posted, and you're going to get a brand new taco recipe every Tuesday for Taco Camp. Plus lots of other shenanigans and nerd talk throughout the week, so make sure you head over to Facebook. You can follow me on Instagram. My handle is SideQuestFM. If you want to see some cool videos and random stuff on Instagram as well, you can follow me on Instagram. Same handle, SideQuestFM. Or follow me on Snapchat, SideQuestFit. Follow me there. Send me your questions. I want to get all the questions from you, help you as much as I can on your fitness journey or your journey in life, whatever it may be. But head over to Snapchat, SideQuestFit. Follow me there. You get a little more personal, in-depth look at the shenanigans I get into throughout every day. But I do love getting questions from the community, so please send them out to me. If you have not left a review for the podcast, please head over to iTunes. If you're not listening on iTunes and you're listening on SoundCloud or Stitcher, leave a review there as well. When you leave reviews, it helps me move up the charts on the iTunes store so that more people can see and hear the amazing guests that I've had on and have on each and every single week. So make sure you head over there. And don't forget, if you haven't picked up your copy of the 7 Principles of Fat Loss, head over to sidequestfitness.com/7 principles, and you can pick up your copy of the 7 Principles of Fat Loss. These are the same 7 principles I follow each and every day and teach my clients to help them shred away more body fat, unlock heroic strength, and just look better naked. So if you want to unlock strength or just look better naked in the mirror, head over again, grab those 7 principles of fat loss, and start following those today. What's up, guys? Welcome to the show. So over the last few months, you have heard me talking about my online clients, and you've heard from a few of my online clients as well about what they've done on their fitness quest with me. With summer heading in, I am taking a few more clients on to help people get ready for summer, help you get ready for bikini season or swimsuit season, or maybe this is your first time. Maybe you've decided that that's it. You want to get in shape, and you need someone to help you with your journey. On your journey, you need a Gandalf and a Samwise to guide you as you head into Frodo. And I am your Gandalf and Samwise all packed in to one. I am taking on a few more clients. If you are interested, head over to sidequestfitness.com/coach and check out the page. You can apply there. You can find out more about what coaching entails and also see some of the amazing transformations that my clients have had while working with me. So head over to sidequestfitness.com/coach and apply today. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I have a great show for you. Just a heads up, there are a few interruptions in this show. Thanks to the joys of New York City, you guys get some sirens and some cars going by and some extra noises. It's a little busy in the morning here where I'm staying and finishing up my internship. But guys, it's that time of year. It's almost the end of summer, or at least the start of August. And that's when my good friend, and my brother, Jason Helmes, always makes a comeback on the show. And he's coming back on the show this time, and we're going to dive deep into life, fitness, and so much more.
Step up and you gotta get it fitness. Host Rob at the moment and the quest is you gotta check it and wreck it. You're breaking personal records, and with the help of the guests you won't be guessing on the lessons. That's a +5 fierce. Got a low-key bamf right here. You wanna meet him, there's no better way to greet him than to strike a boss pose. Take a look into the mirror.
All right, guys, welcome to the show. I have a great returning guest for you. It is that time of year. Summer is ending, so it is the time that you always bring back the one and the only Jason Helmes. Jason, brother.
Hello. How are you?
Back to the show.
Thank you for having me. This is the third time. Is that correct?
Yeah, third time. It's almost like become a yearly. After the third episode that you were on, it's basically become like an almost yearly thing around this time.
Definitely. Same time in 2018.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and we'll pencil it in. Awesome.
Hopefully our calendars get that far. Go for it.
Oh God, I don't even want to know. I've been trying to be better about getting things planned in my calendar. It's nice to have here in New York City with my internship. Like I have my schedule for the week out. I'm like, oh, I know what I'm doing every day, as opposed to like writing my own thing down. Like I still have my own stuff that I'm doing with side quests and my own personal things. But it's like, it's nice to know that there are other things I have to do that I have to fit my schedule in around, as opposed to like, I can fit in a 2 p.m. masturbation break if I want. You know what? I can fit in like an hour of gaming that then turns into like an hour and a half or 2 hours.
I'd be totally lost without. If you look at my calendar, every single day has multiple things, and they all send me alerts just to remind me, like, do this, idiot, do this, idiot. Like, there's so many things to do.
How do you set your calendar up? Is it like a thing you do the night before? Is it like a Monday project, a Sunday project?
No, in all honesty, anytime I get something that's like date intensive or time intensive, like the second that it happens and that I realize I need to do this at this day on this time, I set it into my alarm right there, right into my calendar right there. And I always set an alert for 15 minutes before. So actually at 8:45, it said, follow the podcast 15 minutes. And I went, oh, okay, cool. And like I had totally forgotten. So it's a good thing that I was in there.
Is that the only notifications you have turned on? Because one thing I've done this summer is turn off a few of my notifications.
Yeah.
Because
I have very few notifications turned on. My emails on my phone are all sent to push. I don't have any work email on my phone, because if I do, then every time I'm out, like I'm just constantly distracted and I'm not present. So that's definitely not fair to the people that are around me. I have Facebook notifications off. I have Facebook Messenger notifications on, but they don't I forget the word for it. I'm old. You got to remember, I'm not young like you millennials. What's the name for it when it like shows up on your screen and stuff? What's that name?
I don't know. Push notification?
No, because it's like there are some notifications where you'll just see the little badge that's on the icon on your phone. And then there's another notification where it'll show up on your screen like a text message, even if you're not currently using your phone.
Oh, so, yeah, that's the Apple iPhone notification thing.
Right, yeah. So I have all of those turned off. The only way the screen, I'll get actual screen notification is if someone calls or text messages me. So I had to do that a little while ago, especially with Facebook and the way Facebook, many of us are essentially running our businesses through Facebook, and you got multiple Facebook groups, a business page, a personal page, and all that stuff. Like it was just becoming too much. You were just constantly just like bring, bring, bring. Your phone was blowing up. So I definitely had to turn those things off. Yeah, for sure.
Have you noticed? Cause one thing and it's different being in New York City, because like you get here coming from spending the last 2 years in fairly quiet rural Georgia. And the anxiety that just comes from having constant sounds. How have you noticed that like turning those notifications off has improved just like your everyday life?
Well, it definitely helps me just to not have my mind constantly somewhere else. Luckily, I have been able to stop teaching over the last year, and that was a big issue. It's like my phone would be in my pocket because you can't keep it on your desk because some little 12-year-old's going to go gank your phone when you're not looking. So my phone would be in my pocket, and I would run my business during my free time. Well, especially when my work email was all connected. I have a few work email addresses, and they were all connected to my phone. So every single time I would get it would be like bzz, bzz, bzz in my pocket, and I'm sitting there trying to explain the nuances of linear equations to 13-year-olds. And I'm just thinking to myself, oh, I got another email, so you're just constantly distracted when trying to do one thing instead of the other. Right now, it's not as big of an issue because I'm working from home fully on the self-employed loser with a laptop kind of a kick right now. So as long as those notifications aren't coming through on my phone, and as long as I don't hit the wrong tab on the Chrome and pull up Facebook, which, I mean, you get sucked into that like Facebook time suck, seeing everybody that's on there and you want to respond to people. But it's also a bit of a catch-22 because I run a number of groups in Facebook that I'm, continuously, being a part of. I have a clients group too, and I definitely need to make sure that I'm paying attention to them and asking any questions, especially if we have new members that are becoming onboarded. It's kind of like our message board. So it's like you try to do your best to treat it as work and not as leisure. But whenever I need to focus, I have a coach that'll put a boot up my ass and basically say, you need to do this, get it to me in 3 hours. And I go, oh shit, close down all the tabs. Let's do it. So I have a few of those systems in place just when I know like you got to get this done right now, to where, okay, everybody, the notifications can leave for the next 8 hours and I can hammer this stuff out. So, hey, but tell me about New York. I actually was text messaging Nick Sorrell. Actually, maybe we talked on the phone. Nick Sorrell, I think just earlier this week. And he was talking about New York, and it was funny hearing his reaction because he's a Midwestern guy from Louisville, Kentucky. And that's kind of how I grew up, right, in Cincinnati. Now I live in Michigan, same type of an idea. And he was telling me it's a complete and total culture shock. He said it was like too much for him to be in, Times Square, Central Park, New York City. What's your experience been like?
I lived here before, so I've been.
Oh, I actually didn't know that. Never mind.
Yeah. I lived in New York, 2011 to mid 2013, right before my wife Hannah got into to grad school, and then we left for grad school because we left and then got engaged and then went to grad school.
Gotcha. So it wasn't as big of a deal for you.
No. I mean, obviously there are some things that have changed. More and more it seems like the mom and pop shops are disappearing. It's interesting, and I didn't realize it until the other day that I was down walking around the Bowery where the second Mark Fisher location is, and walked into a John Varvatos store, and I was like, I'm going to go check out some John Varvatos. And like, I can't afford anything in here yet, but I'm going to check it out. And went in and didn't realize until later that I was standing in the same place that CBGB's had been. So like, I'm shopping in a place where like some of the greatest punk rock bands had ever played.
Awesome.
So like, there's a lot of these places that are closing down. They can't afford, the rent. Old, delis or family establishments are becoming like, a Chase Bank or a Chipotle or whatever. So it's interesting to see how some of the things have changed, but much of the city hasn't really changed. It's always growing and evolving and doing its own thing. But I love that you said that Nick is from the Midwest. I always consider Kentucky part of the South.
Well, technically speaking, Kentucky is the northernmost southern state, right?
Yeah.
In the Confederacy. So
yeah. I don't know. I guess I always consider that a little more south than Midwestern. But it's an interesting experience, man. I think it's something that obviously, what I've done, I don't want to leave. I'm not going to lie. This place is magical. I can't explain just how awesome it is. But I got to know from you, man. You're done teaching. How's post-education life?
It's been a learning curve and a learning experience, that's for sure. I mean, if you think about it, I'm 36 now. When I decided to stop teaching, I was 35. So when do we start structured educational calendars? I mean, gosh, we're like, many of us, I think I was about 3, because I was going to preschool and those sorts of things. And then, you go kindergarten, elementary, high school, college. Right out of college, I landed a job as a teacher. So I've been kind of a cog in the educational calendar system for the last 32 years. So for 32 years, someone has told me you are going to show up at a school building at this time. You are going to do X, Y, and Z while you're in a school building. Obviously, my role changed there from, an elementary student to a high school student, college student to student teacher to, so my role changed, but I was still confined by this. This is exactly what these are the times you're going to be here, and here are the tasks that you have in front of you. So now all of a sudden it's a situation where I'm going, okay, what do I do? Like, what is important? Just like little things. Like, I almost feel like Will Ferrell in Talladega Nights. Like, I don't know what to do with my hands right now. Like, I don't know. Yeah. So that was a while to figure that out. Like, should I be working out first thing in the morning? Should I work out in the afternoon? Should I keep my workouts at the same time? Should I tackle email first? Should I do whatever's going to move my business ahead first? Should I work on new projects? Should I attend it? Like, what should I do first? So that took a while just kind of to find the groove. I think I found a little bit more of a groove now because I've been doing this sort of a thing since about September. So it's been almost a year of trying to tinker with things and figure out what works. And then there's also just the jump factor, the like, for the first time in my career for 12 years, more so if you count little crappy college jobs and gigs and that sort of a thing. But it's like the hours that you put into your job when you run a business do not directly translate into revenue, into income. It's not the way that works. Now, obviously, there's a correlation, especially if you're pushing the right buttons and doing the right things and helping people out in the right way and providing them value. There will be a correlation between how many hours you work and, how well you do as a business owner. But it's not that direct relationship. It's not, okay, you're going to make $19 an hour. Okay, cool. Or it's not, here's your yearly salary. Every 2 weeks you'll get paid. Okay, cool. So that definitely was a little difficult in order just to get used to. You get used to having a certain level of income that's comfortable, and me, I got a house and mortgages and cars and college funds and 2 daughters that'll want to get married one day, and that'll cost me an arm and a leg. So I'm very financially minded, I guess you could say. I don't know, that's probably a bad way to phrase it, but finances are always on my mind. I think that's a little bit of the 36-year-old trap. This is when you get to be mid-30s, you're thinking about, where am I going to be when I'm 45, 50, 55, 60? Am I doing the right things now that are going to align with those future goals? And are my inputs going to produce my outputs? And you really start to think, okay, I need to be hitting my prime earning years. So it's a little, I battle a lot with scarcity mindset. I don't know if you struggle with the same thing, but fitness is just it's transient because it's so personal. It's not like you're hiring someone to wash your windows once a month, and well, if I do a good job, they're going to keep hiring me to wash their windows. It's like loads of different things can come up in people's lives, and they'll have different responsibilities. Their goals will change. They'll have personal issues that have come up, and for whatever reason, they might have to stop their fitness regimen momentarily. So when you end up, losing somebody, you have to often realize, this person's getting great results. You have a wonderful relationship with them. It's not a direct result of anything that you're doing. It's just the stage of life that they're in. That's kind of the nature of it. Also, I never really paid super close attention to exactly what was happening as far as how many people were coming into my system, how many people I was influencing, how many people were in one-on-one coaching or in group. I never paid really close attention to that because I had a steady paycheck, Like I had that same amount getting deposited into my account every 2 weeks, and I just saw what I was doing with fitness as, that's my side money. That's my house money, fun money. So like, whatever. So I didn't, it was never like you got to do this kind of a venture. it started off as a labor of love, and it's always been a labor of love. I love doing it. It's awesome. But I just saw it as like, oh, cool. I got a side gig and it really worked out, and now all of a sudden it changed from that mindset to this is what you do. Now you are a business owner. You are an entrepreneur. This is now you. You are no longer a teacher. Teacher you is in the past, and it died in the fall of 2016. From here moving forward, this is your profession, your occupation. So that sort of a mindset took a while to foster as well. But it's going well, and I really couldn't be happier. And I'm really glad that I made the jump. I've been thinking about making that jump for years. And I think it was actually my dad that I said, I was talking to him going, I don't know if I can give up this job. It's guaranteed income. It's recession proof. I got a pension. I really love teaching. I love the kids. I just don't like, all the red tape and, politics in a school and those sorts of things. I wasn't really a fan of those. And he said, dude, you're 35. I think I was 35 at the time. Dude, you're 35. If you're not going to do it now, you're never going to do it. So why don't you just shut up and quit? Said, all right, Dad, good advice. Yeah, if your dad's telling you that, my dad's the most financially conservative guy on the face of the planet. So if he's telling me that, I said, all right, it's probably time. So made the leap.
Yeah. What else? What other sort of mind shifts have you had to make in the last year? Like you said, do you get up and start working out? Do you start working on a new project? Like, what has helped you, shift your mind into the world of being an entrepreneur? Which you are right, man. Sometimes people ask me about it, and I want to be like, it's one of those things where I want to say, yes, it's amazing, it's great, I love it, but there's also those days where I just want to fucking go in a corner and cry. But like, what mindset shifts have you made that have really helped you, streamline and start focusing and just improve?
I never really had much of a strategy before this year. I mean, I had a strategy, but it was just so loose. When I started everything in 2013, here is my entire business strategy. Ready? Blog, put it on social media, get clients after they read your blogs. Like, that was it. That was my entire business model. And it ended up working, fairly well. I was doing well on that. I did get really lucky and got in just at the right time with photocracy. So that helped, amplify things, multiply them, if you will, get me in front of a large group of people so that they could see how I could benefit them and how I could help them out. So that was a nice little lucky break that I had there. Obviously, since that has happened, photocracy is now, pretty much gone. There's still a few. I know there's still a few coaches that are on there. I know you're kicking butt on there. I actually just saw an email this week that said, join Robbie with the Badass Warrior Princess program. I was like, sweet, Robbie got on that the promotional email. Hopefully that helped you out and got you a few people there.
Nope, it didn't.
Really? Like a goose egg?
Yeah, dude. Photocracy is. Listen, it is. It's dead. It's dead. Yeah. It's not, I can put up, I'll be honest. I can put up a program that, is $59 a month, and a month into it, like, everyone ghosts, and all I'm doing is I'm not helping anyone. No one communicates. And it's like, that's not the kind of coach I want to be. I don't want to just have money coming in and not helping someone. And
gosh, that's such a shame, man. I wish you could have been on board in the heyday. I think you missed the heyday by about 8 months. The heyday was just, it was ridiculous, man. I mean, I don't want to talk forever about photocracy, but it was every time I checked my phone, it'd be like, oh, cool, 20 more people signed up. It was like, holy shit, what's happening here? It was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But how my mindset has shifted. Well, I've had to be aware of my thought patterns throughout the course of the day, and use those thought patterns to kind of mold a day to my liking, and then use that template and see how I can adjust it later. And I know that sounds a little weird and convoluted, but let me kind of tell you what I mean. At first I thought, oh, I'm going to want to work out first thing in the morning, because I've always been a fan whenever I would have an off day from teaching to working out first thing in the morning, just to get it out of the way, so it's done and I can focus on my work. But I realized when I went to work first thing in the morning, all I would think about was, I wonder how many emails that you have. I wonder how many programs you have to write for other people. Gosh, you still have to post in your groups on social media. You have to make sure that, so I had these tasks that were running through my head while I was at the gym. And that didn't make for a very productive gym session, and it caused like additional stress and anxiety while I was at the gym. And I'm supposed to be training. I'm supposed to be working out. I mean, sometimes I'd be working out with partners, and I felt like I was always like kind of like rushing them through the workout. Like they'd be trying to talk to me, like no more talk, let's work out. And yeah, I know I like working out better than chatting and making it a social event, but still, I wasn't as present there in the gym as I could possibly be because I had all these tasks in my mind. Plus, I still have to get my daughter, Brooklyn. Ava goes to daycare, so my wife takes her into daycare. But Brooklyn was in first grade this year, and I'd have to get her to the bus, right? And the bus shows up at like 8:20. So I would be kind of like getting her off to the bus. I wouldn't really be mentally present with her there. I'd be thinking about all this different stuff that I have to do. And okay, how fast do I have to do my workout? When do I have to be back by? Do I have any meetings with anybody? Do I need to talk to anybody? So I just, the whole purpose of me stepping back from teaching, big part of it was that so I could be more mentally present and physically present for my family. So I realized, that's not really working out. So I went from there to get the girls on the bus and then work out at 1:00 in the afternoon. So I can come back and sit down on my computer from 8:30 until noon, knock out everything that I have to knock out. If I get done by 10:30 or 11, maybe I'll go train a little bit earlier to still get it out of the way. But then in that way, my mind is totally clear when I'm at the gym. I know anybody that was waiting for me to respond to them, I've taken care of them. I've helped them out. I've made all my posts. I've written the letter to my email list that I need to write, or whatever my tasks are for that day. I've knocked them out, so they're now they're no longer on my mind. So then I know when I get back from the gym is 2 and the family all arrives back at the home at 5 and we eat dinner. If I feel like answering some more emails, I will, if there's anything really pressing, but I don't have to because those people just emailed me within the last couple of hours. So I can wait till later when the girls go to bed, or even if I wait until the next day, it's still less than a 24-hour turnaround period. So I'm still doing okay. So that's just a little nuance that really helped me kind of form my day. And then really probably one of the best things I did was invest in myself, and hire other coaches to help. I hired Slyvon for a little bit to help me in the fall. I had a book launch there, and he was instrumental in that. And then possibly the biggest help that I've received is a guy by the name of Mike Yonda. I barely even want to say his name because I don't even think he's handling any more business right now.
Nope, he's not.
Yeah. I know you've done a little bit of work with him yourself. He's in the process of getting an entire digital agency up and running where he's going to have an entire team. And he started out, well, this, I'm kind of saying this to the listeners out there, but he started, he actually was one of my very first clients. He was one of the ones that introduced me to photography. He said, hey, you got to try this thing out. I said, oh, okay, I'll try it out. So he introduced me to that. He was one of my assistant coaches on my very first photography course I ever ran. So I've worked with him in that capacity. And then he did his own fitness thing, but eventually he realized he was really good at strategizing. He became an expert at Facebook ads. And I had a Facebook advertising running, and he came in and gave me about 4 or 5 times the ROI. The cost per email just dropped quickly. So I teamed up with him, and it wasn't only just Facebook advertising, but it was a whole infrastructure of business that kind of he created. You have a free Facebook group that anybody can join. You give them free content. You run challenges. You help them out. You do AMAs, Ask Me Anythings, and you just give them all free, all the stuff that you could possibly give them for free. And then some of those people will decide to become clients, and you have a clients-only Facebook group, and I post in there every single day. So, and then there's obviously a lot more to it, but that was one of the best things I did was hire him, because now you have a consistent way of getting people into your world getting them to know you, getting them to hopefully like you and like the value that you're providing to them. And that's just going to help drive business. Unless you're a big dog, and there's a few big dogs out there that every single time they drop an article, right? Adam Malee is probably like that right now. Every time he drops an article, it's going to be shared 150 times. Well, that's not going to happen for me. Like, I've had a handful of articles that I've written that have dropped 150, or that have been shared 150 times, but it just doesn't happen every single week. So I needed, that form of Facebook. Man, the old algorithm was awesome. But for the listeners, a little bit of inside baseball. About 2 years ago, it was like the algorithm was totally different. And when you dropped an article, many of them just blew up. Now that just doesn't happen as much. Mark Zuckerberg got really smart and realized that if I make people pay for advertising, they will do it, and I will make a lot more money.
Well, yeah, so. I mean, to be honest, I mean, Facebook is a free platform.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have to have revenue at some point. And that's the easiest way for them to do it without asking people to pay to be in their group, because they would drop users. And now they have a third of the world, 2 billion users, on Facebook, and that will only continue to grow as internet is dispersed out to more areas. Jason,
totally.
something I want to ask that you've talked about a lot, and it's something I don't know how to do, and I don't know how to figure it out. I'm just one of those guys, at least at this point in my life, where I have not done the things I wanted to do, and I'm so hell-bent on making this happen that I will literally just grind my face off, and just to hell with everything else. And it has caused issues in my own personal relationship, and even in my marriage. And it's something that I'm working on and I'm trying to figure out. But how do you balance that, man? How do you find, like, personally, I don't know if there ever is a such thing as balance. Like, you're always going to be on one side of the scale or the other. I don't think you'll ever be in the middle. But, like, what have you done to help you have a better family life, have a better relationship with your daughters and with your wife, while still trying to do this thing? Because you were teaching and then coming home and doing all of this, and it's probably very easy for your wife or your daughters to be like, I don't even know who daddy is.
Yeah. You do have. I was almost always physically present when my girls were a little bit younger and I was going through that really rough work stage. So that's something to always keep in mind. My wife works. She's an engineer for Bosch, and they're an auto supplier she works with like Ford and Chrysler, GM, those people. Very white collar job. She's up there in the management. So she always worked more corporate hours than I did. So because of that, I was always the one that I would take the girls into daycare. Teaching, I got out of work at 3, and she sometimes wouldn't get home from work until 6:37 or later. So I was always picking them up. And it's not like when I did that and they were younger, I would then like disappear up to my computer and just leave them to beat the hell out of the house or anything. So I would always be physically with them. And I always ate dinner with them, and I always tucked them into bed. But I think the main issues came just when I wasn't mentally present, and not only just thinking about other things when I should have been paying attention to them because they're kids, but stuff like, Ava doesn't like to go to bed on time. She just doesn't. She's a night owl. She'll stay up until midnight every night if we let her. And I would put her in bed at 7:30, give her a kiss, tuck her in, and she'd be bouncing off the walls, and she'd come running out, Daddy, I need this, Daddy, I need that. She'd be yelling and screaming and throwing temper tantrums. And I would end up like, yelling at her, like, go to bed, you're going to be in trouble, you're going to be grounded, or like, I'm going to put a lock on the outside of your door, and like all these threats, like I'm like taking like her toys away from her. And like, I had to totally change the way I approached that, because obviously with a kid, why is she doing all that? She's doing all that because she doesn't feel like she's getting attention from daddy. So that was one of the big things that made me like realize, like, look, if you're going to be this damn time crunched, and where it was like wake up at 5 and I don't get done with fitness stuff until 10 o'clock at night. Yes, I'd see my kids for like little pockets throughout the course of the day, and I'd be physically with them, but I'd be constantly like rushing and anxious and nervous. I'm like, I got to get to this. I got 3 more hours of work to do. You got to go to bed, shut the fuck up, even though I wouldn't say fuck. But that was the kind of mindset that I had. That definitely eased when I stopped teaching, because I just have more hours in the day in order to get that taken care of. I will say that my wife is very special in a few ways. I don't mean that in a like, oh, you're special, like, but like she's a special woman in a few ways. She's very independent. She's very career oriented. She's very not clingy. And that is, I will say that now I'm not saying that your wife is, but we'll just leave that comment go. We don't know if Hannah's going to listen to this podcast.
She will not listen to it, but I will just say this: she's an actress and likes to be the center of attention.
Okay.
The end.
Okay. Well, it's just okay. We'll drop it at that. I we'll read between the lines there. But actually, as a man, now this is getting into like masculinity a little bit. As a man, that's a little bit of a tough pill to swallow, because she's not like lovey-dovey. She's not like express your opinions with words. She's fiercely loyal. Like she's got just all the morals and that you would ever want to have in a woman and in a wife. So like, but at the same time, you don't get that like it's not like, hey honey, let's cuddle up and watch a movie. Like that's not how she is, like, at all. She doesn't operate like that. And she's very like, hey honey, I'm going to go fishing for 4 days. Okay, have fun. Hey honey, I'm going to go to Vegas with my buddies. All right, have a good time. When do you need me to pick you up from the airport? Like, so she's just so hands off with that. And when it came time to my business, I don't think once during all that 2 years of just absolute craziness and chaos and anarchy, I ever said, honey, I got to go work on my business. And she said, well, what about me? I don't think she ever said that once. And that's a real benefit that she understood. Like, I think she kind of saw how passionate I was, how I was growing it, how I wanted to, no offense to any teachers out there, but I wanted to do something more than teaching with my life. Teaching was great and it was awesome, but I just kept thinking, there's more out there that I need to do. And if I don't do it, maybe I'll be 55 going, man, what else could have been? And I didn't want to have those doubts in my head. So she saw that passion and well, she saw the way that it was helping our family financially. And she, always gave me that. So I was definitely really appreciative of that. I think it was a big transition because she went from the primary breadwinner to more even, or even there for a couple of years when I had both incomes, to where I was the primary breadwinner. And not that hurt her ego. It did not. She always said, I'm all for it. If you can make $1 million a year, hell yeah, let's do it. So, I mean, it's not that, but it's the fact that I was always the one that I taught for 6 or 7 hours a day. So I had all this extra free time, right? Because that's all I just taught. And so I was always the one that was cooking, and I was the one that was cleaning, and I was picking the girls up, and I was taking them to school, and I was I was doing the laundry. Like, I was Mr. Mom. That was my role. And that was a role that I accepted because I was a teacher and she was an engineer, and she made twice the salary that I did. And it wasn't necessarily the fact that now all of a sudden I was earning more than her, but it was the fact that now my time is crunched probably more than your time is crunched. So that was a bit of a transition where it was like we had to sit down a couple of times and say, I need help. Like, I need help badly. Like, I'm drowning. Can you start taking the girls to school every day? Can you start getting them out of the house on a Saturday and Sunday for 4 or 5 hours so I can work? Can you do the grocery runs and get them out of here so I can focus on some stuff? And I had to like tell her, because she's so kind of hands off in that regard, I don't think these things were obvious to her that like your husband is drowning here. So I kind of had to like ask her, and she was always very, very understanding of that. And she was able to help me out wherever it was that I needed help.
I got you. It's interesting just to hear how different, circumstances are for everyone. But you mentioned something, sort of, going into masculinity, and it's something that I've been writing about a little on the down low on myself and things I've been thinking about. Because
there's that New York noise in the background, huh?
There it is. That's that New York noise. That's that New York. It's a good thing I can separate the audio, so no one will hear the fire truck. Maybe I'll leave that one in for everyone.
Okay, sorry,
but just something I've been thinking about, in sort of in the world that we live in today. And, the idea of, my wife talks a lot about gender roles, and because she is the breadwinner right now, at least for now, she's still the primary breadwinner. So I do a lot of things around the house that like people would consider, or my generation would consider, or that growing up would have been the woman's job. Like my mom would have done, things my mom would have done. Right. I wash dishes, I do the laundry. Then again, I did the laundry as a teenager because my mom would throw everything in together and fuck up my clothes that I bought. So, but like I do those things, and you sort of, have a wife with a little bit more of a masculine lean in that, like, she's not emotional. Give me touchy feely, all of that. Jason, for you, what are some lessons that you would tell men in their 30s that are important for being a man that you've discovered in your own journey? That might be different than what your dad or our dads, grew up around.
Gotcha. It sounds like our upbringings were actually really similar. And in the fact that you had said that your mom would, fuck up your laundry, so you'd have to like take that over. I think I was about 13 or 14 years old, and my mom used to, do all of that for me. She would do my laundry. And I remember one day she took a laundry basket full of my clothes and she dropped it in my room. And she said, "You need to put these away." That was it. Like, she had done all the laundry. All I had to do, they were all folded and everything. I just had to put them away. So being 13 and an idiot, I said to myself, well, these are already folded and good to go. I'll just pretend like this is another drawer. Whenever I need clothes, I'll just pick it out of this basket.
As you do.
Yeah, come on. I was 13. And about 2 days passed, and she needed the basket. And she went and she goes, "You haven't put these away yet." And I'm like, "Oh, I'll just live out of the basket." And she just looked at me and said, "I'm done doing your laundry now, so figure it out on your own." I was like, oh, shit. So, I've been doing my own laundry since I was 13 years old. And my mom was really big on, she always said, "I'm trying to teach you how to be a bachelor." So she'd always have me do chores. I had to clean the bathroom. I had to mop the floors. I had to vacuum the house. I had to dust. So I always had these chores, in order to get my allowance or whatever it was. So I was definitely, and my mom was the one that always was the talker. She's a child of the 70s. So no topics were off limits. Plus she's retired now, but she was a nurse in the maternity ward taking care of little babies in a kind of lower income area of Cincinnati. So she'd have all kinds of stories about, babies that were born on drugs, or, deadbeat dads, or, STDs and these sorts of things. So she'd come home and she was very open with sex. And she would always talk about feelings and emotions and sex in just a very open way, which is really kind of odd considering we're conservative Catholic family. But she would still talk about these things. She was the mom that when I was 15, she said, "If you ever need condoms, let me know. I don't want you getting any STDs or getting girls pregnant." And I'm like, "Mom, I barely even dry humped the girl." So anyways, that's the environment that I grew up in. And so I started relationships when I was in high school and college, and thinking that this is what women want from men, and thinking that women want, someone to be romantic. Women want someone to be open to share. Women want that connection. And I know that there are some that do. So I know I'm painting gender roles with a very broad stereotypical brush here. It did work for me. I got married and I had that mindset, but no woman, biologically speak, I shouldn't say no, again, stereotypes, but women prefer someone who is a little more mysterious. They prefer someone who knows what they want, not in a pushy way, like a we're going to do what I tell you to do kind of a way, or a commandeering way, but women don't want a pushover. They want someone who's able to take control and have that positive masculine energy and is willing to sacrifice the short term for the long term and to work towards a goal. And that took me a long time to figure out. It took me a long time to realize, especially with the way that my wife is and has a bit of a masculine energy herself and doesn't need all that touchy-feeliness. Like my own insecurities would kind of rear their ugly heads a little bit. And I'd go, oh, she doesn't want to cuddle. Does this mean like there's a problem? Is she okay? Is she mad at me? Is she, hey honey, let's talk. What's on your mind? What's up? I did a lot of our early relationship having those types of conversations with her, and she'd be like, nothing. What are you? Nothing. And girls can smell insecurity a mile away. And like that's just all it was. It was my insecurity. So that's something where you said, advice to people that are in your 30s. I wouldn't say if something's really pestering you and bothering you about the relationship that you have, you need to communicate that in a direct manner. You need to make sure that there's no disappointments. There's no resentment. Resentment is a huge thing. And I think resentment is something that causes many breakups and divorces, is that resentment builds. And if it's never out in the open in a constructive manner, like it's going to cause the relationship to fold eventually. But at the same time, you can't be constantly having that scarcity mindset with a relationship. Just little things like, where like I was always trying to please Kate and do everything that she wanted me to do. And I still do. I want to make her happy, but I think that's taken a different form. Now if I want to do something, I say, I want to do this. And I've gotten to the point where I realize like, she's not going to care. She'll be totally fine with it. She gives you your space. So I do that. I don't ask permission anymore. And I just realize if it's something that she thinks that I shouldn't do, or whatever, she's going to tell me, she's going to be open with me and I'm going to be open with her. I think that's a tough thing for a lot of men in their early 20s and even mid 20s to realize. It's okay to hold back a little bit and not be so much of an open book, and to take time on the feelings. I know I was always a guy where, if I went out with a girl one time and we really clicked, I'm like, wanted to call up mom and say, can I bring her home for Thanksgiving? Like shit like that. And like, that's really not appealing to many women's biological senses, of course, unless they're just, sometimes women go in the opposite direction and they want to get married, as soon as they meet you as well. I know that definitely is out there. But yeah, masculinity is an interesting topic because there's not a lot that I would call good that's out there in the internet.
No.
I'm not the biggest, I don't want to get too into this stuff, but I'm not the biggest fan of feminist approaches. And I'm definitely not a fan of like alt-right PUA, pickup artistry type BS, tapping into a woman's psychological framework in order to, get laid and get what you want. Like there's got to be some sort of a middle ground. And I think that most people need some sort of a self-experimentation and, to figure out exactly what works for them in a relationship and just as a person in general. I don't know if any of that made sense.
No, I think there are always extremes on all ends, and everyone sort of, comes back towards the middle. I think the biggest thing you said is communication. Is that And I think one thing about being in your 20s, and I would agree with, is taking some time to sort of sit with what you're thinking. Like, write that shit down. Don't just, like, hold it inside, but, like, write it down, because that helps you work through your own thoughts. Mm-hmm. And then sort of present that. But communication is key. And I think, you know, Tim Ferriss has said it before, the amount of your success is predicated on the amount of uncomfortable conversations you're willing to have. And I mean, they need to be like things that make you uncomfortable. Like if they're your partner and they're someone you are with, for life, or someone you want to be with for life, like it's important to have those conversations, because if you can't have those conversations, how are you going to have those conversations 10 years down the road? What do you like? How do you have a conversation where you're like, hey, I don't think I want to be with you anymore. Like, I don't know, or a conversation of like, I don't think my career is going where I want it to go. I want to quit my job and do this thing and put our like family in a financial, bind or whatever. But I need to do this for me. Like, how do you have those conversations? But I think, you're right. Just, it's interesting that your mom was all about like, if you need to have sex, I'll give you some condoms. Totally different than my mom.
My mom. I got a little story for you here. I had just started dating Kate. I was 22 years old, and me and my college roommate, we were all the way up in Ypsilanti, Michigan, which is right next to Ann Arbor. And a couple of my buddies from Cincinnati wanted to go to Mardi Gras. Never been to Mardi Gras. Let's go to Mardi Gras. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So I told her I'm going to Mardi Gras, and being the hands-off and trustworthy girl that she is, and I'm a fiercely loyal person as well. She said, yeah, okay, have fun. So off we went to Mardi Gras, the town of beads and boobies. Yeah. And we jumped in the car and we headed down, and I called my mom, just to tell her, yeah, we're on our way, we'll be safe, and da-da-da-da-da. My roommate's sitting shotgun in my car. And my mom starts with, don't you dare do anything stupid down there and bring an STD back. Kate is the best thing that ever happened to you. And I just started laughing. I said, Mom, I'm not like that. I'm not gonna mess around on her or anything. And I said, besides, I'm gonna be my roommate. His name is Roman. I said, I'm gonna be Roman's wingman. I'm gonna try to get him laid. And she said, put Roman on the phone. I said, oh, Jesus, here we go. So I handed the phone over to Roman, and my mom starts giving him a tutorial on proper protected sex. Right there. I mean, he's like 22 years old, and she's going, okay, Roman, do you know how to put a condom on properly? And he's going like, holy shit, like this is my roommate's mom. So yes, Mrs. Helmes, I know how to do that. Okay, after you finish and after you ejaculate into the condom, there are a few things that you're going to want to know to make sure that your genitals don't get exposed to herbs, because you don't want to be bringing home any STDs. So when you take the condom off, what you want to do is slowly, or you want to, grab the tip of the reservoir that's filled with your semen. And I'm going, holy shit, Mom. What are you doing? He's just dying in the passenger seat, and he gets off the phone, and I'm just shaking my head driving. He's like, what was that? And I'm like, that's my mom, dude. That's just how insanely open and almost clinical she gets when she's having these conversations, because this was her job. Is what she did for 40 years, was work with people that have had issues with stuff like this.
Yeah. Word. Well, Jason, we're a little over 45 minutes. Brother, it's been great catching up with you. Anything you wanna leave the podcast with, or maybe we should just end on that funny story of your mom.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. That's cool. I'll tell my mom to go ahead and listen to this. I'll send it to her and say, Mom, you're mentioned in the last 10 minutes. You probably want to listen to this. And she'll get a kick out of it. She'll probably share it on social media to her, 12 friends. Just joking, moms. Love you, Mom.
Well, Jason, brother, thank you so much for coming back on. I'm so excited to see all the success you've had and finally getting some time to relax a little bit more, without teaching. I know it was a little stressful for you last year when we talked, because you're like, oh man, I love it, I don't want to give it up, but you did, and the sky's now the limit, man. You're crushing it and helping people, and you're still teaching. You're just teaching on the internet.
Yes, that's what I tell. That's exactly right. That's exactly what I tell people. I say, I never stop teaching. I just teach something new, and I teach it digitally instead of in person.
Yeah,
that's it.
Awesome.
So,
well, Jason, brother, thank you so much for coming on.
Yep, definitely. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure, and best of luck too. I know you're out there crushing it yourself, and let's keep this thing going. One day we'll be the Bob Harper and Jillian Michaels. I'll be Jillian if you don't want to be.
It's a very tall Jillian. Very tall Jillian.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for having me, Robbie. Pleasure as always.
Step up and you gotta get it fitness. Host Rob at the moment and the quest is you gotta check it and wreck it. You're breaking personal records, and with the help of the guests you won't be guessing on the lessons. That's a +5 fierce. Got a low-key bamf right here. You wanna meet him, there's no better way to greet him than to strike a boss pose. Take a look into the mirror.